What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we're back to doing VL things. So Dan's had the head redone. Cams are here, so we've got new cams. So the same cams going back in it, but we just got a fresh pair. Dan decided just to get a fresh pair just so his mind was at ease, and he knew that they were both going to be good and brand new, so that's fair enough. So just got two new Kelford cams, 270-degree duration at 935 lift going back in. So yeah, head's fresh. The end of the last episode, what I didn't show, where the pistons had contacted the valves, I just filed them down and then used some emery paper to clean them up. What you want to do there is just get rid of any pointy, sharp edges, because if they stick up, they create hot spots in the piston, which is not good. So that's the last thing you want. So I did do that, which I didn't film. So apart from that, the bottom end should be good. Just gonna put fresh oil in it, just in case any of the metal from the cam breaking actually found its way into the sump. The last thing we want to do is have the pickup actually draw any of that up and get it, have it damaging any oil pump gears or anything like that. So for the sake of some new oil, it's one of those better safe than sorry things. It probably would be fine, but yeah, it's just not really worth risking. So I'm just going to run down and do some pickups. Dan's actually also bought some coilovers for the VL, so it's actually going to be on coilovers now. So it's going to be pretty cool. So anyway, I'm going to fit his coilovers for him. Hopefully I get time. So just a bit of running around to do to pick up some stuff and then head out to the workshop and get this VL done. I've also had quite a few messages from you guys basically checking in, asking us how we're going as far as all these fires go. Very fortunate for us. We're very lucky where we are up here in Queensland that thus far we have not been under any threat from any fires. So that's just lucky that we are in a place where we haven't been under threat. So for all of you people who have been directly affected by the fires, and for all you people, absolute legends out there actually fighting it, I think I speak for the entirety of Australia when I say we're all thinking of you. Keep fighting the good fight. It's a shitty and terrible situation, and yeah, feel for every one of you very sincerely. Righto guys, made it out here. Big purple beast is here. Pink, purple, blink, I don't know what colour you want to call it, but it's certainly a very unique colour for a car. But anyway, as you can see, got new cams. These are the fresh cams here. Got a new head gasket there, ready to go. That's a discontinued ACL gasket. That's actually something I've had just sitting around for a long time, so I figured it was a good opportunity to use it and get out. Dan save some money there. That's for an RV30. Got these 25 intake and exhaust gaskets, and I got a new T4 gasket. Got the head here that's the valves have been done, so it's got new exhaust valves in it, or freshly cut and obviously all done. So it's all pretty good, ready to go. But anyway, pretty much this afternoon, for the rest of the afternoon, is I'm just going to start cleaning up. Like the head, you can see the exhaust ports there. All need to clean up. Intake ports need to clean up. Intake manifold, exhaust manifold needs cleaning up. Everything sort of just needs cleaning, so that's all I'm going to do for the afternoon. So I'm not going to bother making any content of that because it's absolutely, positively the most boring thing ever. It is just with a blade, cleaning off, and then with thinners, making sure everything's spotless. And tonight I'm just gonna make sure everything's ready to go, so tomorrow I can just unwrap and go. And yeah, so I guess I'll see you then. Like I bought one. Exhaust manifold's over there, ready to go. Head's all cleaned up. Actually, I had to pull one of the studs out of the turbo end of the manifold just because it was absolutely pretty much gone. So I'm gonna have to replace that, but I've got one down there that I'll chuck in tomorrow. But pre-cleaning all this stuff just makes the day go so much smoother when you got to get the motor together. It's so much nicer than having to clean stuff as you go. Obviously, with a lot of this stuff, I will do just a one last pass over with thinners before it goes together. All this stuff will actually get thinners, but that E85 is really good for just using really generously to just get the bulk of the crap off, because you don't have to worry about wasting it. You don't have to worry about contaminating it. Obviously, with thinners, we do a lot of painting here as well, so when using thinners, gotta be always worried about making sure I don't contaminate the thinners and that sort of stuff, because it does actually get used for paint. So just nice to have that to do that with. Just chuck some in a bucket, use a rag, dunk it in there and use it to really clean stuff out. Stings your eyes, but it's not very nice, but bloody hell does it work good. It's a bit of hail. Little bit haily. Wow. Rightio, so just about to chuck the head on. So what you saw there, firstly, pulled all the studs out and blew out all the stud holes, make sure that they were all nice and clean. And then while there were no studs in it, I used that as an opportunity to give it a really good wipe down with thinners initially. Cleaned up all the studs. What I'm using, ARP normally give you a stud lubricant or a fastener lubricant. What I'm using is this CRC engine assembly lube. So this is actually a graphite based lube, so it's much more similar to that ARP fastener lube than say the Penrite engine assembly lube, which is oil based. So the graphite based stuff's really good. It's about the closest thing I've got to it, that's why I'm using that. All that does is stop scatter. So if you have threads that bind up, you may get, you know, to the same torque setting earlier, but the actual clamping forces may be all different. So all that does is just eliminate that binding and that scattering and stop you from getting unequal clamping forces across the head pretty much. It's to ensure that the head's all consistent, all the clamping forces are good, and make sure you get a really nice, good, tight seal. So I put that on the threads that go into the block. I'll also put it on the nuts, on the actual flange of the nut where it meets the washer, and on the thread, so that the nut can move on the washer. But I won't put it on the bottom washer because I sort of want that to bind into the sort of alley head a little bit and help there. So that's all you're seeing there. Just going to give this head clean up with thinners, and then it's going on, and then I can start torquing it down. Alrighty, one head installed. The torque specs for ARP for these studs is 80 foot-pounds. The sequence is pretty much work in the middle and work your way out. Some people do across. I like to sort of just work in a bit of a circle, sort of thing. And I did first pass at 30 foot-pound, then 50, and then 65, and then 80. And that's one head installed. So, yeah, started pretty late today. I woke up crook as, and it's been so freaking hot here. And then obviously, as you just saw, it's been hailing. So I ended up just crook as, sleeping most of the morning. Not very well at all. So late start, but had plenty of sleep this morning. So hopefully I can just sort of keep working through into the night when it's a bit cooler. Righto, time for the new cams to go in. So they obviously supply you with the lubricant for the actual lobes and lifters. So I will be pretty much putting using all of it, as much as I can on the actual lobes and the lifters. And then for the actual rolling bearing surfaces, I'll be using trusty old Penrite assembly lube. So cams on an RB25, you start from the outside and work your way in. So pretty much opposite to doing the head studs. So you start from the outside, work your way in, and it is paramount that you get them all even and you do them all up evenly, very, very small increments. So I like to do like half a turn. Like I'll do half a turn, half a turn, half a turn, half a turn. I work my way in, and I'll just keep doing that. It takes ages, but it's really important to make sure the cam comes down even, because if obviously it has to be loaded up. I usually load it up on 4 or 3, and it's got to be loaded up on one lobe. So if you don't do it evenly, it'll put a heap of pressure on the cam, and because they're cast, they're actually very brittle, so you can very easily actually break cams if you install them and don't do that correctly and don't evenly tie down the whole cam together. So these are not very tight either. These cam caps are only like I think factory specs is 9 to 12 Newton meters, foot-pounds. I don't know, I'll double check. I'll let you know. I'll double check and let you know. And obviously they're only like 10 mil, so they're only real small. It's only like pretty much a firm one hand normally. If you're a cowboy, obviously I'm not. And it's a good idea when you're doing such small increments to actually get a nice small torque wrench, because the bigger ones are not as accurate when you're doing such small increments or small torque settings. So you can get a little a little quarter-inch torque wrench and do them down with that. You're going to have a lot more accurate torque reading, torqued down bolts. Sorry, my head's all blocked up and I'm all sick. All right, yeah, sorry guys, confirmed 9 to 12 Newton meters. So. Righto, one can installed and all lubed up. One seal put in. I think the GoPro went flat just before I had to hit the seal in. But as always, rubber grease for the seal and appropriate size socket and nice even taps just to tap at home. Some people, when they do 25s, like to put the seal in before they actually tighten down the cam cap to try and get it easy to go in. Personally, I don't like doing that because you risk pinching the seal. I mean, it probably won't happen, but for the ease of how I do every other seal I've ever done, I find it better just to knock it in after the way you normally would do a seal. So that's just me, it's what I do. So anyway, rinse and repeat for the exhaust side, and then we're getting closer. So I chose to have a medium and torque them down to 10.5 foot-pounds. You probably couldn't see it on time lapse, but it is a very, very slow process, tedious process to get that down evenly, but you've got to do it right.
Give it up.
Bit by bit, we are getting there. Cam gear's on, head drain's back on. Getting there, so I'm just gonna have some dinner now, and then when I come back, I'll look at getting the rest of the timing gear back on, time it, and then we can start looking at manifolds, and then, yeah, it's getting close, so, yeah, nice. Alrighty, so just had to go down to the storage shed and rob an exhaust stud out of RB30 head because one of these studs on this manifold was wrecked, so I had to pull it out, but that's all right, all come out easy. No broken studs, which is always good. Where's the one I pulled out of it? It's, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Here it is here. So yeah, pretty fucked. But that's all right. Got a new one. Righto, so first thing with this timing, I went and found an actual tension spring. So I'll pull the tensioner off and actually put the spring in it so that it has one. And then can start looking at timing this again. Putting the timing belt back on and then turning it over a few times, making sure nothing hits anything. Fingers crossed, better not. Righto, so I'm pretty sure I go through this every time I time an RB, but for anyone that doesn't already know, if you're timing an RB on your own with these sort, like this sort of tensioner, easiest thing to do, because your Allen key obviously releases the tensioner off the spring like so. Best thing to do is just get a regular old zip tie and you can tie it up around the alternator bracket and it doesn't get stuck on the adjuster. Stupid ass. Whoop. And yeah, you can just zip tie that up so that it holds the old tensioner up like so. Makes things so much easier having that just held up there instead of having to use your knee and screw around with it. So yeah, I don't know, just an easy little trick, I suppose. So if you're having a bit of trouble with the timing, I find it easiest to pull this idler off and then do your timing with that tied up. Obviously your tensioner tied up, pretty easy to do by yourself. And then just when you got it right, all the marks, I just pull that across, put the idler in, and always Loctite this idler just because by nature of the way that turns, it's always going to be trying to undo that screw if this bearing ever gets sad, that bolt. So I always Loctite that one at least. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I had a bit of trouble because we're using this timing belt. These marks are a bit hard to see, so I just went down and found, I've got another old 25 timing belt down there that I went and grabbed just to double check that the marks are right on the belt. But yeah, I'll do this up now, I suppose. Righto, so with the idler torque down, torque settings for both 45 Newton meters. So they're like 35 foot-pound-ish is what I do them to. So with that torque down, I just get the crank and just take up a bit of slack on that exhaust side. Not too much though, you want to still be able to, that's probably actually a bit tight. Like you want to be able to sort of twist that. You don't want it to be too severe. That's a bit loose. So you just want to find that, just that nice tension where it doesn't feel too tight. You can still get a bit out of it, twist it a little bit, that's good. And then you would pretty much want to do the same on this side. You just use your Allen key to get your tensioner down to where you reckon it's going to be good. And then same thing, you just lock that up at 35 foot-pound or 45 Newton meter-ish. Lock that up and then, yeah, do a few rotations and make sure nothing hits. Obviously, you want to do that very slowly. Don't force anything. Make sure there's no plugs in. Makes it easier to rotate. And yeah, do a heap of rotations. Make sure nothing's clashing. Righto, so now having fully taken up the slack on the tension side, like so, you can see on the tensioner side, you can still get, you know, a bit of movement, about 5 mil, 10 mil, and a bit of twist. So that's about what you want. You want to be able to get that bit of twist. So that's pretty much how you sort of want to tension your timing belt. You don't want it too tight because it causes problems, and you don't want it too loose because if it skips teeth, it's going to cause problems too. But somewhere in the middle there, it's pretty good. So there you go, turned it over a heap of times, no contact. And back at top dead center, you can see our timing marks all line up once again, which is the aim of the game. So it's one timing belt installed, so yeah. All right, sorry guys, getting a bit slack on the old time lapse, but the GoPro batteries are all dead and I want to get this done. I'm already half a day behind from this morning, so yeah, pain. The actual exhaust manifold gasket is a lot thinner than the last one, so I've actually had to space the nuts out with washers because they're bottoming out on the threads, which is a pain. So anyway, intake exhaust is on. Chuck the turbo on after I've put on the cover. I've got to put the engine mount back on this side still. Just about to put the engine covers back on. Just put a little dab of RTV in the corners there, just because they're really hard spots for that rubber to seal. So little blob there always helps just to seal them up pretty good. But yeah, it's chuck covers on, put the turbo on, and then motor's just about ready, and this engine mount, and I'll dump the oil. Going to replace the oil. I wanted to have it, my plan was for today to have it back in the hole so that tomorrow I can finish hooking everything up. Muck around with the ECU. The issue I'm going to have now is because it's got a new exhaust cam. It's got a new half moon key on the cam, so the CAS can only go in one way now. And I know from the last time, if you watched that episode where I had a lot of issues with the timing, that it's not the correct position for the CAS for the tune. So Whitey's Wiring, Sam, has helped me out once again by lending me a link cord so I can get onto this ECU and have a look at the ignition table, so that I can try and sort that out so we can get it started, because I would like to run in this cam before it goes to tune, just to, again, to save Dan some money, because that way he's not paying for dyno time to just run in the cams. So anyway, I'll see what I can do. If the motor's pretty much at the point where it's ready tonight, that's good enough for me. I can then just chuck it in tomorrow. Just playing catch-ups. But the big problem is I've got to actually go back to work. I'm meant to be going away for work on Monday or Tuesday. So sort of need to try and have this done. But at the end of the day, if I don't get to the point where I can muck around with the timing and try and get it started, that's all right. It's just going to have to go to a tuner for them to do it. But it's not the end of the world, but I would really like to do it for Dan because it's going to cost him way less if I can get it done. Standard Duplicolor shit. Absolutely terrible. Not a big fan of Duplicolor. I find the actual product is fine. They're like, all their paints seem to work really well. They stick well. This stuff works really well. It's just that every time I get one of the cans turns to shit. Either the nozzle gets blocked, stops working, or this happens. Like, they're just... Alrighty, we are on. Motor's pretty much ready now, apart from obviously flywheel and clutch, which I have to do once it's off the stand. But fresh oil, fresh filter, engine mount's back on. Everything's back on, everything's good. So that's all that came out of it. But yeah, so not too bad. I'm still a bit behind, but realistically, if I really felt like it, I could put it in tonight, but I just don't think I will. It's late, I'm pretty tired, so I wouldn't mind trying to get a decent sleep and try and get up early before it gets too hot in the morning and try and get into it. So I think that's what I might do. I might just do a big tidy up so that I'm not working through this crap in the morning. Nice and clean, put all the tools away where they're supposed to go, and hit it in the morning and go ham at it and try and get it in there and get it done. Righto, nice early start today, like I should have been yesterday. Try and get this thing in the hole before it gets stinking hot, because holy crap is it hot out here lately. Righto, it's in the hole. So it's the biggest part of the job done before it gets too hot. So that's the main thing. Anyway, I'm gonna go down, have some brekkie, come back up, finish, put that all together, and yeah, then I'm gonna have to get into the link and see what I can look at. Righto, super slack with the old time lapse. Sorry guys, I just wanted to get it done. But as you can see, got it in there, got it all running. Finally, eventually. It was a very long, annoying process. Massive shout out to Sam, Whitey's Wiring, because he sort of talked me through a lot of stuff, and it took me a long time to sort it out and figure out what I was doing wrong. But we got it started. We sort of got the cams run in. So obviously running cams is around 1500 RPM for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so. We probably got about 10 minutes in before it just started getting too hot. Don't want to go getting it too hot, so I'll shut it down, I'll let it cool down a bit, and once it's cooled down a bit, I'll do it again, do another cycle, and just try and get those cams. You just want to get the lobes and the lifters sort of mated together and make sure it's run in properly. So, did finally get there. It's been a long, annoying, tedious morning, but we got there and we're all good. So, yeah, it's running again, not making that awful whirring noise of the belt being too tight, which is nice. And everything seems to be dandy, so obviously except for some timing and some other tune things, but that is out of my hands with this thing. I just wanted to get it running so I could run in the cams for Dan, so that he's not paying for dyno time to run in the cams, and that way he can go and get tuned properly. Righto guys, so that's pretty much the VL back together, ready for a tune. Still got a bit more work that Dan wants me to do to it, but I'm not going to get time this weekend. But at the very least, Dan can sort of come and get it and take it in to get tuned whenever he can find someone who's going to tune it for him. So anyway, sorry for being pretty slack on the content on this one, but again, just wanted to get it done, and you've all pretty much seen it all before. It's just a repeat of what I'd already done. So I've got the newer part 10, like installing the cams and that, so I hope you've enjoyed that. But big thanks to Dan for actually being cool with me making content of this, working on it, because if not, I wouldn't have really any content. Even as it is, I'm starting to get a bit short of content, and I'm going to be pretty busy with work, so videos might probably start slowing up as far as the leases go. Might go back to 2 or even 1 a week for a little while, just until I sort of get some more work in and can afford to keep doing some more driving and do some more stuff. So over the Christmas break, Rex is pretty keen to get a few things built as well, so we are going to be busy. Just won't be my stuff, but still be plenty of content coming. It's just probably going to slow up a bit for now. But anyway, thanks for watching anyway, guys. As always, hit like, share, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Catch you later.